Did you know that one of the most common ways people try and break into your bank accounts or social media profiles is to use something called an imposter link? This is the sort of thing maybe you receive via text message or email, and it looks legit, but then you look a little closer and it's from like gmails.com or appley.com instead of Gmail or Apple. Sneaky, you gotta watch out for that kind of thing. Yes, there are a lot of bad actors out there on the internet. Fortunately, today's video is sponsored by NordVPN, which is helping to give internet users all the tricks and tools of a proper 21st century online experience. You may have heard me talk about what NordVPN could do for you previously: encrypt your internet data, move your online activity to another location with just a click, either for superior security or new streaming options. And all of that is still true. NordVPN has more than 5,500 servers spread through 59 countries. But VPNs give you more than just access to new TV shows. With NordVPN, you can really do it all, and that includes utilizing their threat protection upgrade, which blocks ads, eradicates web trackers, checks for malware, and more. Right now, as part of my unique sponsorship deal, TopTenz viewers can get a 2-year plan at a huge discount plus an additional 4 months for free. Then if you try Nord and change your mind, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. All you got to do is head to nordvpn.com/toptenz. Again, that's nordvpn.com/toptenz for a 2-year deal at a huge discount plus 4 free months on top of that as a bonus. Or just follow the link in the description below. And now today's video. In science fiction, people have managed to travel through time in starships, DeLoreans, hot tubs, and duffel bags, among many other things. It's just that easy. In real life, science can't even decide if time travel is even theoretically possible, although a lot of prominent names lean towards it being impossible. But hey, what are humans if not impossible dreamers? Even without the technology or even the scientific know-how, we've brushed up against the idea of time travel more often than you might think. Number 10. Stephen Hawking held a party for time travelers. You could make a good argument that Stephen Hawking was the most brilliant scientist of the modern age, and certainly the most well-known of the last 30 years or so. He's been compared to Albert Einstein more times than you can imagine, and became one of the rare scientists who's so good at what they do that it gives them celebrity status. Hawking, whose area of expertise was physics, was not on board with the idea of time travel, but being a scientist, he wasn't closed-minded to the idea of it, so he planned a way to prove or disprove the idea. He held a party for time travelers. Being a scientist, there has to be a scientific twist to the idea, and of course Hawking thought of one. He only advertised the party the day after it happened. That way, the only people who could attend would have to go back in time to do so. You'll probably not be surprised to learn that nobody attended his party. Hawking was long known for having a good sense of humor, and the event was clearly a bit of a joke, but it does play off of one of the most prominent arguments against time travel existing, and that's that if time travel is real, why haven't we met anyone from the future yet? Number 9. Astrophysicist Ronald Mallet thinks he cracked time travel. Although many scientists are of a mind that the idea of time travel is a frivolous thing best left in the realm of fiction, not all of them feel that way. Ronald Mallet has devoted his life to figuring out time travel. Mallet's father died when he was just 10 years old. He attributes his lifelong love of science and learning to the man, and in part that's what's inspired him to dedicate his life to solving the riddle of time travel. He wants to see his father again. According to Mallet, he has worked out the equations for making time travel possible. He's been working on it for 60 years too. He believes he has worked out a way to bend space-time with lasers that follows Einstein's general theory of relativity, but there is a significant problem with his work. If it does produce results, he believes it would only work from the moment his machine was turned on, which means that would be the 0 point, and no one could ever travel further back in time than that, so his dream of seeing his father could never come true. Still, the potential to change the world exists if people of the future could send information back to the present. But there's another snag as well. Mallet says the energy required to operate the machine would be, to quote, galactic. Number 8. There's a theory that a time-traveling bird shut down the Large Hadron Collider. Few things get social media as riled up as the Large Hadron Collider. Go search for stories about it ending the world, and you'll find enough to keep you busy for a few days. People thought it would create a black hole or a portal to another dimension, or even to hell itself, and while all of that is silly, it is true that in 2009 there were so many problems with the collider that it had to be shut down. And that got people wondering what might have happened. And in a world where people already think the machine can open a gateway to hell, it's not hard to imagine that there were some rather outlandish theories about why it shut down. One of the more interesting theories was that time travel shut the machine down, or more specifically, a sort of chain reaction of future particles coming back in time. But a more involved theory suggests there's more to it. The reason the particle accelerator was shut down was thanks to it overheating. It didn't overheat by chance, though. There was a piece of baguette in it. So, how does a chunk of baguette get in a giant particle accelerator? Some have guessed a bird dropped it on the way, but others suggest it was no ordinary bird. Perhaps it was a bird strategically sent from the future to be at that exact place and time so it could drop the bread and shut the accelerator down. As goofy as that sounds, more than one scientist has proposed, at least somewhat seriously, that the LHC is so potentially dangerous that the people of tomorrow have devised ways to stop it from working. Number 7. Scientists determine time travelers probably aren't on social media. If someone from the future existed in the world right now, where would you look for them? If you think social media is the answer, well, think again. Scientists have already spent a while trying to find them on Facebook, Twitter, and other sites and have turned up nothing. Psychiatrists from Michigan Technological University tried to hunt for evidence of time travelers back in 2013 and came up entirely empty-handed. Their searches included looking for any signs of posts or communications that indicated a person had knowledge of future events, the sorts of things a person from the present should never know. They admitted that finding nothing didn't prove that time travelers don't exist. After all, people from the future may not be using Facebook or Twitter. Also, if someone were time traveling for a serious reason, there's a good chance they aren't stopping to doom scroll Twitter. Number 6. A man claiming to be from 2030 allegedly passed a lie detector test. And now sure, we've just looked at a couple of cases where the evidence suggests there are no time travelers, but maybe they just weren't looking hard enough. Sometimes people show up in the world claiming to be honest-to-goodness time travelers, and they end up in the news. In 2018, a man claiming to be from 2030 made some headlines when he allegedly passed some lie detector tests that proved the veracity of his claims. Now, years later, we can look back and suggest maybe he wasn't really from the future at all, since he claimed Donald Trump would serve a second term. Other, less specific predictions included self-driving cars becoming very popular, as well as virtual reality. No one uses Instagram in the future, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s granddaughter will become president when she's 21. Number 5. China had to deny it was building a time machine. While most people are looking to prove, if not at least investigate time travel, one lab in China was forced to take the opposite approach and deny that they had anything to do with it. In 2021, the largest state-backed particle physics lab in the country got caught up in a rumor that they were helping a private firm build a time machine. The private company, called Rutai, claimed a third organization made up a PowerPoint that linked them to the particle physics lab, and it's not clear if they were attempting to build a time machine and were just mistakenly linked to the government lab, or if the entire story was made up. The leaked PowerPoint name dropped a Nobel laureate as being on board with the project, and he wasn't even a real person. As for Rutai, the company had only existed for a few months at the time the story was leaked, so it's hard to say what was going on, but rest assured there's no time machine in China. They swear. Number 4. An Iranian scientist claimed he invented a machine to predict the future. Is seeing the future the same as time travel? Maybe it's cheating a little, but an Iranian scientist claimed it invented a machine that could do just that. Using what was described as complex algorithms, the machine was allegedly able to predict a person's future with 98% accuracy. Known as the Ariak time-traveling machine, it would print out a report on your life 5 to 8 years in the future. The inventor was the managing director of Iran's Center for Strategic Invention, and his sort of time machine was one of 179 other inventions he'd registered there. Of course, at the time the story broke, Iran's Deputy Minister of Science, Research and Technology basically dismissed it as being stupid. Number 3. Researchers believe parallel timelines make paradox-free time travel possible. A big issue with time travel comes in the form of a time paradox. Say you go back in time to before you were born and kill your own dad. How then can you be born to grow up and go back in time? Well, some enterprising minds have argued that the math still works out for paradox-free time travel. The answer, as Dr. Strange might tell you, lies in parallel timelines or dimensions. According to one physicist, space-time can be shown to mathematically adjust around paradoxes. One example given was that of a disease. You go back in time to stop COVID-19. If you succeed, COVID-19 doesn't happen, and future you doesn't need to go back in time. Therefore, you're either creating a new timeline, or the universe prevents you from succeeding and COVID-19 spreads regardless of whatever you did. Either way, time keeps going the way it's supposed to, and according to physicists, these are all possible, at least on paper. Number 2. Mental time travel. Sometimes science plays a little fast and loose with the definition of time travel, as is the case with mental time travel. Research has shown that a human mind has an internal flow of time independent from external time. Thus, we can mentally time travel in our own heads back through memories as well as into the future. Electrodes in the brains of epileptics were studied and showed that brain cells associated with time would fire on their own independent of external stimuli, indicating that human episodic memory of how things happen and when exists along a sort of internal timeline. This ability to be aware of the past and also the future has been dubbed chronesthesia. Number 1. Sergey Krikalev has traveled through time. It would be anticlimactic to cover time travel and dash your hopes that it's real at every turn, so why not focus for a moment on the only real-life time traveler in the world? Sergey Krikalev has, according to everything we currently understand about science, traveled through time. Krikalev is a Russian cosmonaut, and he has spent a lot of time in space. In fact, he spent over 800 days in orbit. And because of how Einstein's theory of relativity works, he's not just just traveled space, but he's also traveled through time. If you're a sci-fi fan, you may be aware that the closer you get to the speed of light, the slower time goes. It's called time dilation, and it means that the faster you travel through space, the less time passes for you overall. People here on Earth could age 50 years, and only a fraction of that will pass for you, depending on your speed. In theory, if you reached the speed of light, time would stop, and then, also in theory, if you somehow went faster than light, you'd go back in time. But none of that's relevant for Krikalev's story. Astronauts in orbit move at a speed of around 5 miles per second. That's 18,000 miles per hour. That's nothing compared to the speed of light, but it's faster than anything on Earth. And because Krikalev spent 803 days, 9 hours, and 39 minutes in space, he's actually traveled forward in time. Admittedly, he's only 0.02 seconds in the future, but it's more than the rest of us can say.